Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope you're doing really well in this moment in time. And that whenever and wherever you happen to be on God's green earth, that you are able to keep the faith. And what faith am I talking about? This isn't a religious show, Elena. I know it's not. What am I talking about? I am talking about the faith in the universe. The faith that God or the universe always has got your back. And I'm also talking about the faith you have in yourself. Everything is going to work out okay. Everything is going to work out okay. Everything is going to work out okay. Okay? Now I'm talking to myself as much as I'm talking to you. It's so easy, isn't it, for us to just assume that nothing's going to work out. We're going to end up dead in a ditch somewhere because things aren't going to work out in our favor. Oh, God. We're so scared. So often in life, we're so scared. I mean, I'm going to die alone. I'm not in a relationship right now. That just means forever. Never going to be with somebody, ever. I'm going to be alone forever. I'm going to die alone. When they find me, my cats will have eaten off my face. I mean, I don't know if you say that, but I mean, some people say this. You know, you think if you don't have a relationship right now, that's just it for the rest of your life. It's over. No one's ever going to find you attractive ever again, because they didn't find you attractive this week or this month or this year, It's not true. Of course it's not true. And it's not true. On some level, you have faith. On some level, you already know it's going to work out okay. You're going to be fine. But there's just a part of us, isn't there, that we just don't want to believe it. We don't have faith at all. We're just like, I don't have a job this week. That means I'm probably going to end up dead in a ditch somewhere. I'm going to end up homeless. They're going to rob me. They're going to kill me. It's just the way it's going to happen. But it's never going to happen like this. It's never ever going to happen the way you believe it's going to happen. But if you have faith and you realize, wait a minute, I've already lived this many years, X number of years on the planet, and I didn't already die in the ditch, and I actually did have relationships when I thought it was all over for me, and I did get a job at the last minute, and I did pulled that rabbit out of a hat right at the last minute there. Didn't end up homeless. I found that apartment. I found that house. I, found that tent, whatever. But people have a tendency to always assume the worst is going to happen. And they don't have faith, right? And it doesn't mean you have to be religious. Obviously, you don't have to be religious. God forbid you should be religious. Don't even worry about the religious thing. Don't worry about it. But there's a special kind of energy that faith attracts. It's a calming energy. It's a collective, cool, calm, collected kind of energy. When you have faith and you do listen to that inner voice and that intuition, and you hear it clearly and you follow the instructions of it. I don't have enough money. I don't want to live where I live anymore, but I don't have the money to move, but I can't afford those apartments over there, but I'd really like to live in those apartments over there. Yeah, it happened to me. I told you guys this story before, but this did happen to me where I was, years ago. I was with my kids. My husband had just died. He was my ex-husband. And we had just gone through so much hell for 18 months. I was trying to get through the divorce, trying to raise the kids, trying to co-parent with him, and then he died. And it was like, oh my God, this is horrible. It was horrible, and we had gone through so much, and someone had just been shot and killed outside of our building where we lived. And there were some pretty yucky people, energy people, just bad energy, living across the street from our apartment building in this little house. They were like selling drugs and doing all kinds of illegal activity out of that house. And I think it was like a biker gang type of thing. The energy was horrible. And I was just like, I don't want to live here anymore. I just don't want to live here anymore. And I told my husband, told my husband. No, he was dead, sorry. No, I told God, I said, I don't want to live there anymore. I don't want to freaking be in this apartment anymore. It was government housing. They forced us to, they were forcing us to, we had to do paperwork, like every, 6 weeks or something. I had to prove my income every 6 weeks. I had to talk about all my activities, comings and goings, why, when I'm there, when I'm not there, do I work, when do I work, what do I do, who do I do it with, did I get any mail? And they watched our mail, and we had to report if anyone sent us money in the mail, like a relative or something. It was completely ridiculous. I was like, ugh. It was nice to have it when I was really desperate and I needed it. Going through a divorce, and I lost my job, and I had literally no money to pay for even electricity or internet, and the government paid for my electricity and my internet because it was government housing. That's what they do. You fall upon hard times and they literally pay for everything. And I got food stamps for food. For everything, and it was 9 months of my life I went through this hell. And, God bless all the mothers out there, the single moms that have to go through this for 5 years or more, I'm grateful I only had to go through it for 9 months. Then my husband died, and I got his retirement and death benefits, which ends for me now in 2 months. So I'm scrambling at the end of this 10 years going through this. But I didn't want to live where I was living. It was a terrible place to live. So I just said, God, I need to move. I want to move. And I had a conversation. He's like, where do you want to move to? I'm like, well, I really love those apartments over there. I was a mystery shopper, and I had gone to these expensive apartments in town, and I told a lie. I had to lie. I was like a spy. Oh yeah, I have the money, and oh yeah, I really want to do this, and I really like this place. And it was just, to get my $40, to say I want to go to this apartment. And then I literally went on, every month I did the apartment hunting tour. So I got to see all the different apartments in several counties. And I would make $40 for every time I went to see an apartment for 20 minutes. I had to give them objections, and then I had to secretly write on a form in my car when I finished, how did they overcome the objections? And usually the people I was evaluating, I would have to evaluate them so that they could get a promotion, So that was my mystery shopping. That was a job I used to have. Excellent job. So I knew about all these apartments, and I said, okay, God, I remember when I saw this college housing, university housing, I loved it. And I'm not a student. I don't know what to do, but I really want to go. I want to live there. And I knew it was $1,200 a month. There's no way in hell I could afford it. And I went in there all confident, all swag, like, yeah, I got my swagger on. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I just kind of schmoozed them, and they liked me and I liked them, and everything was great. And then at the end they said, okay, well, it's $1,200. You want to do it? And I said, I will give you $800 for 9 months, or a 9-month lease. I don't know why the hell I didn't say a year, but I said 9 months, and they said, okay, fine. Boom, done. They did it. What? $800? Are you serious right now? Really? I knocked $400 off the rent. Now, I had an argument with God about it for like an hour before I went over there. I literally argued for like an hour. I'm like, there's no way in hell. This is not going to happen. I can't afford it. I know I can't afford it. I know how much it is. I know I can't afford it. Blah. And I argued with God, and God's like, all right, you want to argue with God? I'm like, you're right. Why am I arguing with God? You got a point. I think you might know a little bit more than me. Just a little bit. You're God. When I got the apartment, a couple hours later, I was signing a lease for less money than I was paying in the government housing, because I'd give a third of my income up. So I went from paying like $100 a month or something to $800 a month when my husband died. It was like ridiculous. So if I'm going to pay $800 a month, I might as well be in a place with a swimming pool, that hands out free food several weeks out of the year. You get free lunch every day for a week during finals week. And whether you're a student or not, they didn't care. They even said, you're a resident here. Doesn't matter if you're a student. So my kids got the little sack lunch with all the college students, and we got to stand in line, and they had really awesome conversations with people who were in university, and it made them both very interested and curious in learning. So it was really nice. It was like a really amazing place to live. They had, Thanksgiving dinners, they had Christmas parties. It was a really interesting place to live, but I had the faith. I kept the faith. And that was the point of the whole thing, was I had the conversation with God, and then I had to keep the faith. And another weird faith-based thing that happened to me at that time was I knew the face of the man I was going to date next. I'm like, who is my next great love? Who is he? And God sent me 5 nights in a row. It took me 2 weeks of asking. I finally started dreaming about this guy. And 5 nights in a row, I had the exact same dream, and I dreamed of his face. And every night I saw his face, and I woke up, like I'd start to fall asleep, and I wasn't quite asleep yet. Dream of his face. I'd sit up really fast, like, whoa, oh my gosh, that's my next guy. So I had faith it was true. I signed up for like 30 different dating sites. It was ridiculous, all these profiles I made. And for months I was scouring every single person I could, and I couldn't find this guy anywhere. I'm like, well, how the hell am I going to meet this guy, I forgot to ask God, forgot to even have that conversation. So I was looking, every day I'd leave the house and look around, where is he? Where's this guy? Where is he? I want to meet this guy. My husband and I just divorced. I'm looking for my next love. I had a feeling that he was on his way to me, right? And 5 months. Okay, so I saw his face every day for 5 days. 5 months later is when I met him. But right before I met him, I said, God, where the hell is this guy? I've been looking and looking and looking. It's been 5 months. I can't find this guy anywhere. And God says, well, look on Craigslist. Like, what the hell, Craigslist? And you can't even do that anymore. They don't even have the personal ads like they used to have. And I read 110 personal ads. And I answered 2 of them. 108 of them were nothing I was interested in. I answered 2 of them. And it turns out that both of these ads was that guy that I had in my dream. He put out 2 different kinds of ads to see if he could get the right woman. And he thought 2 different approaches he might find her. So I wrote him on both ads, and I get only 1 phone call. And he said, he said, you're interesting. I had 3 people answer my ad, and you're the only one that I really feel like I would get along with, right? He said, the other women are very sweet though, but I don't think I have anything in common with them. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. So we talked and we talked and we talked. For 4 hours we talked. Go figure. I'm a talker. Who knew? So we talked. And at the end of that, he said, I'd like to come over. I'm like, oh, okay. And he said, I know this could sound weird, but can I just come over and cuddle with you? I'm like, what? He's like, no, nothing, no hanky-panky, no nothing. Just, I just really miss hugging someone at night. All right, fine. And I thought, well, God, what if this isn't the guy? And what if this, I don't even know. Because it was Craigslist. He didn't even put a picture of himself. He didn't put anything. It was just a description. It was really good description, though, of what he wanted. So I thought, okay, fine. Let the guy over. I gave him my address, and I thought, oh, crap, I can't tell him where my apartment is in case I feel like he's a serial killer, right? So I meet him in front, and I'm wearing these pajamas that are really big and bulky and baggy, and I cover my hair, and I think I had like a scarf kind of around my face. Like I wasn't dressed very nice. I was just like, because what if I don't like him? Then I could look like a crazy person. So I dressed like a crazy person. I had Tinkerbell pants on. They were these really thick pajama bottoms. They were like these massive fuzzy. They were ugly as hell, right? Okay, but they had Tinkerbell on them. Tinkerbell was cute. I'm like, all right, here we go. And he shows up in surgeon scrubs, even though he had nothing to do with the medical profession, so that was weird. And he had acne medicine all over his face, and he had these thick glasses, and I'm like, well, he's not the guy, but he seems like a really sweet person. He's like, I swear I'm really a good person. I just, I'm just strange, I'm like, well, I'm strange too. It's okay, And we meet in the front of my apartment. Turns out having my faith in the universe and in God saying, yeah, your guy's on Craigslist. So crazy. And it turns out in the morning, we woke up, we cuddled all night, and he was a gentleman all night and was very sweet. And I woke up with him like, that was so sweet. Like, just to wake up with you right now. This is so sweet. It feels so nice. And he's like, yeah, it does, right? And then he's like, needing to use the bathroom, and he goes in and washes off all the acne medicine. I could barely see his face. And he comes back, and holy moly, he's the guy from my dream. I mean, but in the whole time I had faith that I was going to meet that guy. But then when I did meet him, I didn't even recognize him because he had all this crap on his face. And then he told me, he's like, I didn't know if I would like you, so I put all this stuff on my face so in case you wouldn't like me, maybe, in case I didn't like you. I'm like, well, that's why I was wearing the ugly Tinkerbell pants. And he's like, oh my God, I was wondering what the hell's going on with those pants. And it was like this whole weird exercise in faith. And from that point forward, we had a little bit of a rocky start, misunderstanding each other, and we had some communication issues in the beginning, and we ended up dating or being together for like almost 2 years though, and we're now still very, very good friends. He was my near twin flame. He wasn't my twin flame, but he's my near twin flame. And he found his woman, and ironically enough, she has a personality very similar to mine, and she's also a redhead with green eyes. I mean, it was just crazy. She also had been divorced with kids. And so she and I had all this weird stuff in common. It was very odd. So it was kind of like he was kind of looking for me, but then it turned out he was looking for someone else, right? But all of it was an exercise in faith, though. I mean, like, everything is an exercise in faith, you know? Like, when my marriage didn't work out, I was like, crap, I'm going to be alone. I'm going to die alone. You know what I mean? I had lost the faith. But then when I picked up the faith again, like, look, I'm going to find someone. I'm going to find someone. And it took 5 months. And I'd already been going through the divorce process for like almost a year, you know. But, you know, but when I found him, it was awesome, you know. And then when I found the apartment, the same thing. And, you know, fast forward to now, it's been 10 years since my ex-husband died. And now here I'm alone again. But this time I know, because I have the faith. I have the faith that my true love, my twin flame, he's on his way to me. I have to have that faith, and you do too. No matter what it is in your life, you have to have that faith. You don't have to have the faith. I mean, you could just doubt it all the time, 100%. And then when it happens, you're like, oh man, I should have had the faith. And what does faith do for you? It reassures you. It's a reassurance. It's like that energy of, you know what? It's going to work out. It's going to be okay. And it makes you relaxed. It takes your anxiety away. Makes you feel just kind of chill about the whole thing. Whatever that thing is. Worrying about getting a job. Worrying about getting a housing situation rectified. Worrying about getting through a lawsuit. Worrying about being accepted into university or getting through the university. Or these days, graduating from a university. You know, I mean, I know that there are some of you out there that you expected full well to graduate in May. And the whole global pandemic thing happened, and now you don't even know when your university's going to be open again. You got to keep the faith. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It can't not happen. I don't think. You know, my son is convinced. My youngest child is going to be 18 in 2 months. And he is absolutely convinced that we are in the end of the world. We are in the end of the world times. He was born here with his interests being in survivalist equipment and camping gear and riot equipment, and like he spends hours researching things like Kevlar versus steel plate. What do you want in your helmet? I mean, stuff like that. It's wild. But everything he's ever seen had a vision of. He kept the faith that it was going to happen, and it did happen the way he saw it. And because he was emotionally prepared and mentally ready for it, we got through it because of his preparation. When we were in Mexico, he saw that there was going to be a riot. And he's like, we need to go get some groceries because I just feel like we need to. And the next day we went to get groceries, and on the way back, there was a freaking riot. I mean, there had been a riot, but then there was like a freaking protest and with the police, and it was like 5 rows of police, and we had to tell the policeman, this one policeman, hey, we need to get by because this is where our house is. They weren't going to let us through. 5 layers of police with full riot gear, ready to fight, standing their ground with the billy clubs and everything. And I had to go up there. I'm all, Señor, disculpe, pero mi casa is allí. Excuse me, sir, police officer, my house is over there, And my son's like, I told you, I felt it. I know it. He's got this really crazy instinct for survival. And he knew it before we moved to Ecuador. He had a vision that we were going to have the riots. And last year in November, we had these massive riots where all the cities, the whole country was shut down for weeks. I was like, oh my God, we live in one of the most peaceful nations in South America. We're in the safest city, and we felt so unsafe for weeks. We were freaking out. But my son never doubted that we were going to get through it. He's like, look, I had a feeling. And he was like, I feel like a little weird because I knew we should have had more food. We should have gotten more food. And I told you. And he did tell me, and I didn't do it on time. And then the riots happened, and yeah, I didn't have faith in him. And I know when you have faith and then you plan ahead, everything was fine. But when you don't have faith and you don't plan ahead, then that's when things kind of get screwed up. But overall, things are still going to work out one way or the other. So now here we are in a global pandemic, and he knew it. He even said, remember when I said years ago that I had a dream we were going to be in a global pandemic? And you didn't believe me. I'm like, why would I believe you? It doesn't make any sense to me. He's like, but for me, from my perspective, with all of the things I've been interested in my whole life, it made sense that this was an inevitability. It was just a matter of time before some virus took over the whole world like this. He knew it. He saw it. He felt it. And luckily, I'm a shopper. I know how to shop. My parents growing up always taught me how to buy food for the week, and then you buy a little extra to put aside. They bought a freezer for the basement. Okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say basement because more accurately it's described as a bomb shelter. We literally had a bomb shelter that was built underneath my grandparents' farmhouse in middle of nowhere in Minnesota. We had a bomb shelter that was built in the 50s. We literally had a bomb shelter, which was like handy. It was convenient because we were, also protected from tornadoes. Tornado warning happens. It's like, do we go to the bomb shelter or do we go to the just the regular basement, like i.e. my room? But that's how it was. This is how it was. And I grew up with that mentality of we might see nuclear war in our lifetime. We had to prepare. We had a bomb shelter. And in that bomb shelter, we had a giant freezer, and we had venison when my dad went hunting or the neighbors went hunting. And he got a side of venison from the neighbors. He paid them for it. And we also had the Schwann's man come. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Schwann's, but they would deliver all this frozen food, frozen fruit and vegetables, and even some ice cream. Once in a while, the ice cream was pretty good, but mostly we got the fruit, which in winter in Minnesota, it was nice to have fruit. Fruit's hard to come by in that part of the world in the dead of winter, but we always had enough food to feed our whole family every day for like a month, if not 2 months. We always had a couple months worth of food. And toilet paper, it's not like the toilet paper crisis of 2020. The way people were freaking out about toilet paper. That's my family forever, always was like that. Wasn't just freaking out about when something may or may not happen. Haley's Comets in the sky, buy your toilet paper. No, it wasn't that. I mean, I was literally trained by my parents to have no less than 21 rolls of toilet paper in your house at any given time. You never know when you're going to be, like, when we're in California, you never know if you're going to be flash flooded and can't get out. You don't know in Minnesota if you're going to be snowed in for 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time, 6 weeks. You never know when you're going to get a big dump of snow and you're not going to be able to open your front door. So I was taught from a very young age to have faith, but plan ahead. So anyway, that's my message to you guys today. Just have faith. Have faith, but just plan ahead. You have to plan. You have to plan. You got to have the faith too, though. So everything is going to work out, and when you panic and you freak out and you start to realize, you start to not realize, but you start to think, oh, it's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. You can make it worse for yourself with that. When you dump your faith to the wayside. But if you just imagine everything's going to work out the way you want, you have faith it's going to. You visualize it correctly. You visualize the best possible outcome ever, but you keep your mind open to the field of all possibilities. And you plan ahead. You do your best. Buy the extra beans and rice. Buy the extra toilet paper, Have 3 months worth of salary in savings in case something happens. Plan ahead, but keep the faith. And keep the faith. It's so important that when you have faith and it's going to work out. My mom always did this, and it always drove me crazy. My adopted mom. I grew up with my stepmom, but my adopted mom, I'd stay with her several weeks out of the year. And she would just be like, I know everything's going to work out. Everything's going to work out. It's going to be fine. Like I'd call her, I'm having a fight with so-and-so, whoever I was dating at the time. Oh, it's going to work out. It's going to work out. I have faith. Don't worry. You should have faith too, Like, but Mom, he said this, or Mom, you didn't come home on time, and Mom this and Mom that. And she'd say, I have faith. I have faith. All right, fine. And every single time she was right. Like he would apologize, or he would forgive me, or he would come home, or whatever the thing it was that was always annoying me. It always worked out. She'd always say, I have faith it's going to work out. And then when it didn't work out, I always loved, my mom always said, well, I never liked him anyway. Well, why the hell did you say something? You said you did. Well, I just, Then she'd say, I had faith in you. I have faith in you that you were going to make the right decision. I can't make your decisions for you. It's your life. I had faith in you. And I have faith everything's going to work out because I have faith in you. And I have faith in God. Everything's going to be fine. And in spite of my mom's best efforts to instill that lesson in me, I still have these moments of freak out. Everyone does, right? We all have that moment where we're just like, oh my God, I'm going to end up dead in a ditch somewhere. I won't get the job. I won't get the apartment. I won't get the university degree. I won't get the love. I won't get it. And you always get it, but you just never think you're going to get it. And if you don't get that one, you're going to get the next one. Men, like buses, come along every 10 minutes. You're going to be fine. There's going to be another one. Jobs, like buses, come along every 10 minutes. You're going to be fine. There's going to be another one. Apartments, yada, yada, yada. You get it. Everything. The right one is coming on time, in God's time, and it's going to be there when it's there. It's going to be there. You know, that, I don't know, live a faith-based life, and I don't mean religion. Just have faith in the universe. Have faith in your higher self, your holy guardian angel, your ancestors, your goddess, your God, whoever you pray to. Have faith that this deity is going to be there for you. Have faith that you're going to be there for you. And have faith in other people too, because they'll always surprise you in the end, always, every last time. Every time the other people will always, they'll always surprise you in ways that you didn't expect because you didn't have faith. So I'm telling you now, start practicing that trust in the universe, and trust in yourself, and trust in the good nature of others, because I think when you trust in the highest octave of what a person can be as a human being, you trust in that, they're going to rise up to meet the challenge of that, of your faith in them. It's kind of a wild thing that happens. It's pretty awesome though. I like it. So, okay. I'm going to go look at Lada Dunsheva's I don't even know what to call it. I guess it's her YouTube channel, but this particular thing is not. I'm going to try to find it. I had it all queued up and now it's gone, of course. All right, Lada Dunsheva. She is an astrologer. She's incredible. I believe that she has English as a second language, and yet her posts are very, very fluent. But every now and again she'll have like a word a little bit out of place, but she's actually a really excellent, if you go check her YouTube channel out, she's literally one of the better astrologers out there. Okay, I'm looking here. Now I just saw something from her, but of course I'm gonna have to pause this and go look for it. But she had a really good insight as to what's going on astrologically for us as far as 2020 is concerned. You guys are going to definitely want to hear this. All right, well, it took me a minute, but I found it, so this is cool. Okay, Lada Dunsheva. I'm going to tell you how to pronounce her name, spell her name. Lada, Lada, and Dunsheva is Duncheva. She's one of the most talented astrologers I've ever come across. Now, of course, after Amber, God rest her soul. So she was my best friend, and she had Stars in Your Eyes dating service, astrological dating service back in the 70s. She was the first person in Northern America to do this, and a lot of her couples actually remain. She was an excellent, excellent astrologer. But Lada Dunsheva, this is who I turn to now because my friend died. So here we go. Aquarius full moon square Uranus, which means the people rebelling in action. This year totally sealed my faith, she says, in the precision of astrology. Everything we have been seeing in the stars has been unfolding on the earth, from the pandemic, which is Saturn and Pluto is connected to plagues, she says, to the draconian government measures, which is also Saturn and Pluto again, to the financial collapse and big wealth redistribution, again into the hands of a few selected on the top. As I said a year earlier, all of these things, as per the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, and now the protests with the Aquarius full moon, and then the riots are starting, and they will escalate with the Saturn-Mars square from this month, which will last almost 2 months. Oh, what glorious times we live in. Collective awakening on a massive scale. Collective fear, too, but triggers the awakening. Still a lot to go through. We still have the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius this December, which kickstarts the New World Order in 2 directions. One, the total digitalization of society. Orwellian AI dystopia of making everyone a cog in the machine, which she calls this the lower manifestation of Aquarius. And the counterculture of freedom, equality, or equal human rights, independent, interconnected societies, and individual local self-governing, which is the higher manifestation of Aquarius. So she goes on to write, we can become the beehive consciousness, which the Aquarius age is about, in 2 ways. By plugging into digital network, cyborg-like, or by developing humane, interconnected, fair communities, which grow naturally a common consciousness of belonging and one mind. The choice will be ours. But before all these big trends unfold over the coming decades, we have next year Saturn-Jupiter square Uranus. So Saturn-Jupiter square Uranus in Taurus. This shows the start of change of financial systems, preceded by a fast and deep recession. Indeed, the financial system will be replaced and digitized. But then again, amidst this, free critical thinking people will come up with a way to turn the system for a higher good, or develop a parallel one which has a stamp of freedoms. It is unavoidable. So don't be scared of the dark. The light always finds a way to turn everything for good. After Saturn in Aquarius, previous times in history, there were always big social reforms, like the introduction of pensions and social welfare in the early 20th century. This time it will be likely to be a universal basic income. Oh yes, I hope so. Now it can be used to control people again, but it can also be used as a powerful springboard for personal freedom and development that many awakening people can use. There will be the birth of new social political movements, which will break the 2-party model of the last 250 years. Third movements will appear that will threaten the status quo of the left and the right. They will take the best of the left and right and build upon universal human values, which is Aquarius. The world is ready. Then comes a powerful spiritual uniting and boundary dissolving Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in Pisces in 2022. Then a Saturn-Uranus conjunction in the coming 7 years. We will be on a constant wave of change and awakening. The universe has deemed it is time to start anew and raise our consciousness to new levels. People will be saying about these times, it was the worst of times, it was the best of times. So I thought that was worthwhile information. I thought that was pretty appropriate as to what's actually going on and her vision of the future and what she said in the past and how it's come to fruition. It's pretty cool how right on she was and continues to be. All right, the current solar wind speed conditions is 540 kilometers per second. It's lower than yesterday, but bigger than normal. We do have a sunspot facing the Earth's side of the sun. In fact, we've got 2 of them, and sunspot number 12 is the prominent one. And Earth's magnetic field right now is quivering. A fast-moving 600 kilometer per second stream of solar wind has been blowing around Earth, causing our planet's magnetic field to shake and quiver. So, according to Stuart Green, his magnetometer needle was shaking like crazy today, and he knows it was to do with the solar winds. So, I don't know if you guys have noticed it. If you've been super focused on something, maybe you weren't noticing it as much. But I've noticed it on and off today, more so now than earlier. That solar wind is just slamming into us. So if you're having ascension symptoms, ear ringing, or headaches, it's because of that. All the different ascension symptoms, and we all have different ones. So, but it is in the middle of slamming into us right this moment. The Ulu neutron counts are high, and they have gone down 0.5% in the past 48 hours. And let's see. It does basically say here that Earth is inside a stream of solar wind flowing from the northern coronal hole right now. According to NASA's All-Sky Fireball Network and NASA's All-Sky cameras, they have discovered 23 fireballs exploding over the United States today. 14 are sporadic, 4 were Perseids, 3 are Alpha Capricorniids, and 2 are Northern Delta Aquarids. So 23 fireballs today. The Schumann Resonance news coming out of disclosure.news or disclosurenews.it. Sorry about that. They're saying that we have 39 hertz frequency. That's in Italy. But that's nothing compared to what I'm about to read you. From heartmath.org, they have a bunch of different cities that have the readings from the magnetosphere, and this is what they discovered. Now, this is 2300 hour of Sunday. I don't know why they're so far behind, but they're about a day and a half behind. So this is what they discovered. In California, they were at 138 hertz frequency. In Hofuf, Saudi Arabia, they were at 93 hertz frequency. In Lithuania, they were at 126 hertz frequency, whereas in Alberta, Canada, they were at 336 hertz frequency. And Northland, New Zealand is at 59 hertz frequency. And last but not least, Hululu, South Africa is at 98 hertz frequency. I'm going to check my moments where we are. Yeah, we have plenty of time. That's good. All right, so we have been reading A Course in Miracles for a while. In fact, this is the 348th day because we are on now lesson 348. You may find A Course in Miracles website at acim.org. This is the Foundation for Inner Peace website. Or you could download an app and it's always free. All right, so here we go. Here's the lesson for today. Lesson 348 is this. I have no cause for anger or for fear, for you surround me, and in every need that I perceive, your grace suffices me. I have no cause for anger or for fear, for you surround me, and in every need that I perceive, your grace suffices me. Father, let me remember you are here and I am not alone. Surrounding me is everlasting love. I have no cause for anything except the perfect peace and joy I share with you. What need have I for anger or for fear? Surrounding me is perfect safety. Can I be afraid when your eternal promise goes with me? Surrounding me is perfect sinlessness. What can I fear when you create me in holiness as perfect as your own? God's grace suffices us in everything that He would have us do, and only that we choose to be our will as well as His. I have no cause for anger or for fear, for you surround me, and in every need that I perceive, your grace suffices me. So there you have it. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, guys, and when I come back, we are going to delve into the CIA papers. A lot of documents were just released to the public after having been scrubbed and or sanitized for eyes only type documents. And we're going to read a couple of those documents today. We're going to start with astral projection and see how far we get. But I found several interesting articles today. So stick around. We're going to learn what the CIA learned, as well as the Army. What did they learn about astral projection? Right after this message. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Happy August, guys. I wanted to extend to you my birthday special. I was born this month and I wanted to do something for you guys. Normally, my readings are $111 for a tarot reading or a psychic mediumship reading. That means I can basically help you talk to any of your deceased loved ones, your higher self, even God Himself, or any of the ascended masters that you've always wanted to have a conversation with. What you need to do is just contact me at mermaidgirl888 on Instagram. Just direct message me and let me know you're interested in having the birthday special $88 reading. That is $33 less than my normal price. And as always, my cloud readings are also available at $33. So there you have it. Happy August. I look forward to hearing from you. All right, so I don't know if you guys have ever seen a governmental document that used to be top secret and it no longer is, but it's wild. This is wild. So the CIA last week, I believe, released a bunch of documents. I think in the last maybe 10 days or so, they released a bunch of documents relating to spiritual things. And this has been a trip today looking through some of these documents. So I'm going to read to you one, if not a couple of them tonight. We'll see how fast we could get through it. Okay, so the first document is called the Astral Projection Caper. They have capers, okay, in the government. This is crazy. At the very top it says NSA, which is the National Security Administration. Declassified in part, sanitized copy approved for release. Then it says top secret in a top secret stamp, and then there's a line through that. And then it's typed top secret with a line through that, because it's no longer top secret. It's not even a bottom secret. It's not a secret at all because they've released it to the likes of us. All right, so Astral Projection Caper. And then it says chapter 3, which is very strange. I wonder what happened in chapter 1 and 2. And it's not actually a fictional book. This is something that really happened. And I think you guys might find this interesting. Okay, 8 August 73. So this is in 1973 this took place. And if you've ever seen a declassified document, it's been scrubbed or sanitized. They call it sanitized, which means there's a bunch of blank spaces, or sometimes it's blackened out with a black marker. I used to have the majestic documents under the Freedom of Information Act. The majestic documents were released, but these people it took them years to get the documents. They had to keep asking and requesting in different ways and requesting different departments, and then they finally were able to get enough documents up where they were able to make a whole book. And these are the people that discovered these elongated skulls in Mexico. Also had the majestic 12 documents. It was really interesting. I met them at a MUFON meeting in San Francisco quite a while ago. When 20 years ago, over 20 years ago. I think I was pregnant with my first child and still doing UFO research and investigating. I can't believe I just said that. I mean investigating. All right. I've been studying how to teach English all day and then lost English. I don't know. All right. So this is how it starts. Telephone call from, and then it's blanked out. Subject volunteered to attempt to locate a facility in the USSR. That's basically Russia, right? Comparable to the underground installation previously described. Found it, gave its exact coordinations, not mentioned, blanked out specifically, but said it to be in the Ural Mountains. Subject described external features, including helicopter pads, rail spur, and some miles away, 30 to 40 miles, large dish antennas. Subject said the antennas were used for intercepting downlink telemetry from U.S. satellites. Also for receiving downlink from U.S. satellites, ? Wait, what? Oh, I'm sorry. Also receiving downlink from Soviet satellites, ? That's really strange. And then says CIA blank found such a facility at coordinates given by subject. Photos and a bunch of blanked out show large dish antennas. The number of antennas was different from that counted by subject, and their dimensions were slightly different. And then there's a blank. I mean, heavily sanitized stuff here. In a double-blind experiment, subject was fed the coordinates of a small Soviet-occupied island in the Indian Ocean. And then there's a bunch of blanked out spaces. It says, the island did not show on the map used by experimenters. In fact, the latter assumed the subject was being targeted against open ocean as a test. Subject began drawing large-scale map of an island, following its periphery. He soon ran off Alright, there's a whole bunch of markings here. It says he soon ran off his, and then it says a bunch of top secret crossed out 3 times, and then classified by DERNSA. I don't even know what DERNSA is. Exempt from CDS. DECLA's date cannot be determined. Limited distribution. Blah blah blah. Right. And it goes to the next page. Let's see. He soon ran off his sheet of paper, continued in another sheet, and continued this process until several separate sheets had been filled in and subject had been returned to a starting point. When the pages were joined together, the result was an exact match and absolute accurate topographical map of the island. Subject also described exactly what was going on the island. Now, they're calling this Astral Projection Caper. Now it says chapter 2. So this is starting from the top down. Maybe I should have started the other direction. But we're just going to keep going in the way that it was released to the public, which is in this way. So now the second, this next one says Astral Projection Caper, chapter 2, 23rd July, 73. So 1973 again. Subject has made a second visit to the underground installation. Now, when they say visit and they say Astral Projection Caper, I think that this person is falling asleep, leaving his body, and going over to the coordinates that were given to him before he fell asleep. This is crazy, right? These are experiments that were done by the government in 1973. So, telephone call from blank. Subject has made a second visit to the underground installation. This occurred at 19:30 hours on 15th July, 73. Prices description. Ooh, prices. See? Well, that's interesting, isn't it? They forgot to scrub that name. Surprised at the number of government personnel working on a Sunday evening. 2 military officers having a conference. They were Colonel R.J. Hamilton, Chief of Security, probably newly assigned, and MGEN, which stands for Major General George R. Nash. Nash was upset about a security leak and emphasized that it must be stopped. The name of the underground facility is Hayfork or Haystack. Other code words on papers and documents in the facility are flytrap and Minerva. On the north wall of one room are a series of gray, locked cabinets. Inside the cabinets are a number of folders marked with code words, including cue ball, 14 ball, 4 ball, 8 ball, and rack up. On the outside of a cabinet is the word pool. Subsequent actions has been with U.S. Air Force Security Service for many years. I know him. And then it says only. I don't know what that means. I know him only, Onally. I don't know that word. So then at the bottom of the page again, a bunch of things saying top secret. That slashed out because it's no longer top secret. And the next page is the same. And then it says, found nothing close, is either rank or name to Major General George R. Nash. Found that Flytrap, Minerva, Cue Ball, Pool had been used as code words, mythological designators, nicknames, and voice radio call signs in the past, but not since about 1966. Some go back to the 60s. No record of current assignment or usage. And then there's a massively blanked out space, followed by a very small blanked out space. In both spaces there that are blanked out, one is a long rectangle, and then the other one is a very small square. But it's like tape or something, it looks like it's probably covering up someone's signature. And then we go to Astral Projection Caper Chapter 5. This is all very weird and all out of order. So 17th of September, 73. A brief summary of new developments, findings, and some observations. Number 1, we have received copies of 2 SRI reports. I'm trying to remember what that means. I don't know. Containing more details of the initial. Price and Swan, now we have another name, Price and Swan, visits to the blank location. One of the reports states that Price was given the target coordinates by phone, that he mailed his response back to SRI, and that he took about 24 hours to begin writing his description of the area. This leaves his performance about as solid as a chunk of Swiss cheese. What? There was plenty of time for him to look at a map, refer to aerial space photos at a library, etc., perhaps even to confer with Swan. Now I wonder if they're not talking about Ingo Swan here. I'm feeling that might be Ingo Swan, who was a famous remote viewer. Price, I don't know who that is. Oh, it would thrill me to the teeth to find my old neighbor's name in these documents. It would thrill him too, because he used to work for the government in their remote viewing program. So, wow. So they go on. Number 2, the SRI reports contained the coordinates of the Ural Mountains and Indian Ocean targets. They were passed to S11 with this request to check them out. The result, A, blank, available to NSA does not show anything within a 25-mile radius of the target in the USSR. We have not tried to reconcile this finding with blank, oral report of CIA's finding. We have asked S11 to expand the search area to a 50-mile radius. This is interesting. This is like experiments that they did to spy on the enemy, basically. And they used astral projection to do it. Then they go on Astral Projection Caper 4, again with the words top secret everywhere and crossed out in 4 different places again. 6 September 73. Visit to CMDR George Long, NIS. CMDR stands for Commander. So visit to Commander George Long, NIS. I don't know what NIS stands for. By way of background, on 14th August 73, I briefed Commander Long generally on this caper and asked him to personally determine whether the blank 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 bore any resemblance to the subject's description of the so-called underground installation. Oh, now it's an underground installation. Very interesting. I provided Long a copy of both the Price and Swan narrative descriptions and the 2 maps drawn by Swan. Long visited the facility, and the following are his general comments, written details to be furnished to me in a day or 2. There is and then they put quote-unquote, astonishing similarity between Price's narrative coupled with Swan's map and the real thing. The general physical layout of blank is almost identical with the Swan map number 2, including the depression of some sort and the something round, the flagpole, the road, and some of the buildings. So this is what he saw when he was astral projected. There is an underground facility at blank consisting of, it looks like 10 floors. This part of the mimeograph, I swear it's a mimeograph. It's been, it didn't totally copy it. And the other thing you have to realize that this is very old typewriter writing. And it's small and it's hard to read. I have to blow it up a lot, and I'm trying to move it across the page, and it's kind of hard to read. But some of the typing is gone now. Very strange. So there's an underground facility at blank consisting of, and it looks like it says 10 floors. The first floor is unclassified, while the one below is a classified record storage area. The dimensions of this latter is the same as given by Price. There are a large number of gray filing, and then probably it would have said cabinets, but that part is not there. And then it says in the room. Again, lots of words like top secret and crossed out because it's no longer top secret. All right. It says there are not now, and so far as Commander Long could determine, never have been people assigned to the facility with the names of Hamilton, Nash, or Long, as claimed by Price. No one Commander Long contacted at the facility admitted to recognizing any of the so-called code words seen by Price. A guide escorting Commander Long on a tour of 2 of the buildings volunteered that this is our haystack facility. The results of some independent actions I have taken over the past several weeks to confirm or deny the validity of the Price Swan information, and then a bunch of stuff is blanked out. And then it says there was an NRL experiment run at blank circa 1969 to see whether CVAs could be tracked via moon-bounced signals. This is just getting weirder. Moon-bounced signals. The equipment employed at blank was called the haystack installation. It probably is still being used by the Navy, but presumably, presumably NSA doesn't know what for. Now there's another big blank spot. where it was taped out. And then it says in several places, top secret again. And they say, there is indeed an island at the Indian Ocean coordinates. It shows prominently on a map in a commercially available atlas in S13. Its name is Kerguelen Island, and it belongs to France. Now there's a bunch of blinked out space again. And it says the outline of the island as shown in the atlas does not bear much resemblance to the price drawing reproduced in one of the SRI reports. We seem to have both hits and misses here. 3. Blank called again, stating that he and others in CIA were so concerned that he, blank, had briefed the director of security on the full details and recommended that there be a high-level meeting between CIA and NSA on the matter. I advised him that Mr. Tate would be the NSA point of contact for such a meeting. And then that's it. They didn't release any more. It's all very weird, isn't it? So near as I can tell, they tried an experiment and they got mixed results. Or maybe the Navy is lying about all those people having worked there. Or maybe he, got it wrong for this timeline. When you leave your body or remote view, you can go to other timelines, other realities. You don't have to be hooked into the one you're in right now. And generally, it's quite possible, I think, that he hopped a timeline or just had a dream. He was sleeping and not truly astral projected. So I think the Astral Projection Caper probably was a flop. But it is interesting that maybe it wasn't a flop. I mean, there was enough things they could confirm, that maybe it really was kind of helpful, but it's not fully reliable. That's why they said it was like Swiss cheese. His story had holes in it. So it's very colorful report indeed. All right, I'm gonna pause this and I'm gonna go open this other one up that I found. It's very interesting also. Hold on. All right, guys, so this next one is very strange because it's not an official report, like that, like what we just read. It's an article that appears to be in a magazine. I'm assuming this is like a CIA magazine. So it's very strange. Why would this be declassified if it's just a regular magazine, right? So apparently this is a CIA magazine. I don't know. Across the bottom of the page, it says New York year-end issue. So it's definitely a newspaper or a magazine. But it's not really sure. It's not really obvious exactly what it is, but it does look like possibly a magazine. Anyway, the name of this article by Joan Cron, Kron is her last name. It says, "The out-of-body trip, what a way to go." So it's strange that this is one of the documents in the CIA files, but it's very interesting, so I think you guys will like it. So it says, parapsychologists are interested in out-of-body experience because it has implications for survival after death. So here we go. On this past Halloween morning, after a dark and stormy night, I saw the past, present, and future in the Waynesboro Afton Holiday Inn near Charlottesville, Virginia. A cow had somehow strayed onto U.S. Highway 250 and was trotting along, unnerving motorists. In the inn's parking lot, a flotilla of Corvettes was lined up for a convention of Corvette owners. And in 3 adjoining rooms on the upper level, 13 men and women, including me, were lying in bed wearing earphones, trying to achieve an out-of-body experience, a phenomenon in which one feels one's consciousness is located outside of the physical body. Out-of-body experience, or OBE, could be the next body control fad, a rival for fasting, yoga, transcendental meditation, biofeedback, etc. But instead of being a means to control the body, OBE lets you escape the body. It's supposed to be a pleasant trip. And if you're looking for a meaningful experience, it couldn't be more so, for it poses questions about existence and non-existence. Parapsychologists are interested in the OBE for 2 reasons, says University of California parapsychologist John Palmer. 1, because the OBE might be a state of particularly conducive to ESP, extrasensory perception, and 2, because it would have implications of survival after death, since what can function outside the body before death might be able to function outside the body after death. No wonder people are beating a path to Robert Monroe's door in Afton, Virginia. His M5000 training program is a painless, non-traumatic course in OBE using recorded speech and sound effects. And it's almost ready to go national. Some 600 pioneers have already tried it, and Monroe has a branch program in San Francisco. When I arranged to join one of the weekend sessions, insiders warned me I'd be spending a lot of time in bed, and Monroe warned me I couldn't expect to have an OBE on the first weekend. But I had high hopes for an instant success. After all, I am an American. That's hilarious. The $175 weekend, plus meals and motel room, did not attract the usual parapsychology crowd, although there were some in the group who knew their way around a seance table. There were 3 college students from Buffalo, a woman who had founded the Louisiana Society for Psychical Research, another who had lost her husband and whose daughter is writing a book on ESP and dogs, an accountant whose hobby is religion and philosophy, and who believes he's been reincarnated, a woman from the National Enquirer, a young man who works for Monroe, and an ordained minister. In addition, there were 2 young men, a hematologist from Washington, D.C., and a professor of psychological counseling, who were referred by Illinois psychiatrist Elisabeth Kubler-Ross. I love her. The cult figure of the death and dying movement and a Monroe booster. Elisabeth Kubler-Ross got out of her body both times she took the program, said one of the Monroe trainers. We were not so lucky. In the course of the 3-day program, no one claimed to have achieved liftoff. We had lain in our adjoining beds through 3 45-minute tapes on Friday evening, 9 45-minute tapes on Saturday, and had about 6 to go on Sunday, and still nothing. The tapes evolved over a 10-year period. In 1973, Monroe took them by invitation to the Esalen Institute in Carmel for a tryout. In the M5000 training program jargon, the tapes play combinations of sounds using a patterned sleep-inducing method with delta theta pulsing plus a binaural beat to help the left and right brain hemispheres get in sync. The voice-over instructions, some barely audible, is a step-by-step build-up with each tape guiding you from relaxation to visualization exercises to deeper relaxation to mental imaging techniques for perceiving and controlling non-physical energy and refocusing consciousness away from physical reality. But to me, it sounded like ocean waves with a mesmerizing voice telling me, now you will conduct your exercises in resonant breathing as I guide you. You will know you have reached the resonant point when you feel an intensive vibration and hear a roaring or hissing sound in your head or experience patterns of light. Alright, so I'm going to stop this right here and let you guys know that I've done these tapes. I didn't do all of them. I got kind of far into it, but I too never did leave my body with the Monroe Institute stuff. My husband, this was his set of tapes. He actually was able to leave his body and astral project and all kinds of things, but just for the record, when I tried it, I just couldn't do it. But this is very interesting stuff. So, alright, hold on. And so it goes hypnotically and somewhat pretentiously from C1, your conscious physical waking state, to Focus 10, body asleep, mind awake, to Focus 12, states of expanded non-physical awareness, to exercises and remote viewing of a 6-digit number, no one guessed it right, to psychokinesis, trying to make a cotton ball rise. It didn't. Oh my gosh. To your energy bar tools, sort of a mental chinning bar. To Focus 15, the state where time does not exist or is unimportant. To, it is hoped, the discrete out-of-body state. The woman from Louisiana kept falling asleep. Someone else found himself swallowing a lot. They were resisting, we were told. Some people in other sessions dropped out because they might not be able to take the assault on their value structure. I had a brief moment when I felt I was flying over New York. But maybe that was what scientists call the halo effect, trying to please the teacher, except I didn't tell my teacher. Why do I pursue this? Asked the physician from Washington, rhetorically. In one of our walks around the deck between tapes, he said. Because I trust Kubler-Ross, he answered himself. She says it happens, so I believe it happens. So, I know it happens. I have had many OBEs myself. Years ago in the dentist chair, when nitrous oxide laughing gas was commonly used for anesthesia. On those occasions, I relished the sensation of floating out of my body up to the ceiling, looking down on myself. It wasn't like dreaming because I felt fully aware and present. I could even talk to my doctor. There was a dizzy fantasia-like delirium about it that made me feel omnipotent. The only thing I disliked about those levitations was, well, the smell of the gas. For years I felt unique for having had those experiences, but now I've learned that untold thousands of ordinary Americans have had OBEs. They can be triggered by therapeutic drugs, marijuana, LSD, anesthesia, hypnosis, meditation, sensory, and this is kind of, typed over. I'm trying to read this. Sensory deprivation, I think it says. Or extreme stress. But the best way to have an OBE, says University of California psychology professor Charles Tart, is to almost die. Oh, wow. Whether it's the best way for you to have one or not, it guarantees quick attention from doctors of varying specialties who will want to debrief you for their forthcoming books. And if you have OBEs often enough, or you can achieve them at will, you might be invited to Stanford Research Institute in California, the Psychical Research Institute in Durham, North Carolina, the American Society for Psychical Research in New York City, or the Clark Institute in Toronto, Canada, where you'll be hooked up to brainwave machines and tested on all sorts of neurological equipment to help science fathom the enigma of the OBE. The big question is, when it's not caused by biochemistry alteration, fever, or trauma to the brain, what is the OBE's state neurophysiology? Scientists are fairly sure about what it's not. It's not a dream state. It's not a sleep state. The only consistent finding emerging from studies, says John Palmer, is a reduction of eye movement activity during the OBEs. Gifted OBEers are almost as rare as certifiable ghosts. The most notorious ones around are New York artist Ingo Swann. Oh, see, you guys, I told you. I had a feeling the other thing was related to Ingo Swann, so this is very interesting. And it says New York artist Ingo Swann, Maine psychic Alex Tanous, parapsychologist Stuart Blue Harari, who works at Brooklyn's Maimonides Medical Center, and M5000 entrepreneur Robert Monroe. They all claim they can travel and or project their consciousness, or their doubles, as they're called, to other locales. One of the aims of the Monroe's program is to turn up gifted OBEers for his 8-person explorer group. We're really playing Monroe to be his guinea pigs, aren't we? Said the Louisiana woman in a flash of enlightenment. Monroe is the author of Journeys Out of the Body, which chronicles his experiments with inhaling glue fumes. Oh my God. Following soon after by his first spontaneous OBE at age 43, and since then his continuously recurring OBEs. On one astral flight, Monroe claims he visited the home of a skeptical woman friend and gave her an astral pinch. The resulting black and blue mark is proof, say believers, of the dual existence in the OBE state. Monroe claims he can now fly in tandem with his wife, and that two of his explorers, a husband and wife who live miles apart, visit each other. And now again, this part is kind of filtered out. It's like stamped over is what it is. So I guess visit each other, and then there's something else missing, and then it says, keeping a diary, but, says Monroe, with a wink, I don't think they're putting everything that happens in it. The 61-year-old Monroe seems to need to legitimize his OBs to prove they're not more than hallucinations or altered states of consciousness. So he's building an institute to go with them, complete with a respectable board of advisors, including Elisabeth Kubler-Ross is one of them. Sci-fi jargon and a hypothesis that ESP and OBEs are related to some kind of more intelligent life on other planets. His explanation reads like a B-movie script, and it's expectable from a man who scripted a few episodes of The Shadow when he was a New York writer, producer, and programmer in the radio's early days. Today, Monroe sells out-of-the-body trip the way Don Wilson sold Jell-O. The main thing is, how do you feel about the 10 state? Can you feel the difference between the 10 state and the 12 state? You get to the I know system. I know I'm something other than physical matter. That's the beginning stage. You don't need proof for that. You must overcome the barrier of non-knowing. You can't crash program out of your body. You must log a number of exercises. Our failure rate is 0 if you practice. 10 is simplistic, 12 is the gateway. I won't begin to tell you the things you can do with it. Monroe's brochure claims his courses are good for almost anything. Healing, re-energizing yourself, pain reduction, dehabituation from smoking, drugs, and overeating, concentration and decision-making techniques, accelerated data learning, exploration, and contact with other energy systems. So have a good time, folks, up there in 12, says Monroe. When you get into 12, you're on the fringe of space-time. And thank you, joked our leader Nancy, his stepdaughter, for flying Monrovia. Monrovia. Though flying out of the body may be an intriguing diversion in itself, a prime concern of the OBE buffs is its relevance to life after death. Life after death, also called survival, research isn't new. It started in the 19th century and got a tremendous boost in the late 1940s when prospector James Kidd bequeathed nearly $300,000 to anyone who could prove that the soul survives after death. In 1972, after the Great Soul Trial, Kidd's money was finally divided between the American Society for Psychical Research and the Psychical Research Foundation, or the PRF. And going to the next page, it's a lot of advertisements. All right. Hold on, I'm going to see how much time I've got. It's taking very long to read this article, so I'm going to finish this one, and this will be it for today. All right, so anyway, both organizations used to separate existence of the OBEs double. It's hard to prove. Meanwhile, ASPR Research Director Dr. Carlos Osis, with some extra support from Xerox inventor Chester Carlson, also did a cross-cultural survey of deathbed visions as reported by the doctors and nurses. According to OSIS, many dying patients insist they have glimpses of post-mortem existence, persons long dead, and scenes of otherworldly beauty. Especially common were apparitions of the patient's deceased mothers, spouses, and offspring, whom OSIS calls takeaway figures, whose role was to take the dying patients to the other side. The data says OSIS are more consistent with life after death than with death as total destruction, but it's not proven. Where the parapsychologist won't rush to conclusions, psychiatrist Elisabeth Kubler-Ross doesn't fear to tread. She says, "I'm convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is life after death," she said in a recent newspaper interview. Her encounter with the materialized persona of one of her deceased patients seems to be one of her proofs. Her other proofs of life after death are the out-of-body experiences of the dying patients. God knows I'd like to believe in life after death. Like most survivors, I've yearned to be, even dreamed of being, united with my dead daughter. Sometimes when I put the key in the lock of my apartment door, I feel she is hovering over me in the hallway. After she died, it was comforting to imagine her being taken care of by all those who had predeceased her: my grandfather, my father, my friend's son. The theory of evolution notwithstanding, belief in the other side is almost a reflex action. Miracles are programmed into us from the beginning through our religions, our theology, our mythology, and our fairy tales. If you believe in fairies, says Peter Pan, Tinkerbell will live. And if you don't believe in fairies, Tinkerbell will die. Following that line of reasoning, if you believe in life after death, you will find it, and if you don't, you won't. So we skeptics hunger for proof. It's no surprise then that Dr. Raymond Moody's book Life After Life, embellished with a foreword by Kubler-Ross, is a bestseller. There was a favorable reaction from all religious denominations, and sales of the book went out of sight. Members of the thanatology community who study death, however, had fits. After working for years to, and now again, I think it might say confirm something, and then says that the psychology of death and dying was a worthy subject for scientific study, one of their own members, Kubler-Ross, who was already gained flack from her colleagues for her stages of dying theory, was now steering thanatology into spiritualist waters. "I admire Elisabeth tremendously," said one colleague, "but I don't believe in mixing one's religion beliefs with science." "I have left instructions," said another, "not to let that woman within a mile of my deathbed." What the hell? That's crazy. But most of the critical blasts are aimed at 32-year-old Moody, a psychiatry resident, now on leave from the University of Virginia to write a sequel to his bestseller as antidotes. I give the book a B-, says University of California professor of thanatology and suicide expert Dr. Edwin Schneidman. And as research, I'd give it a D-. Life After Life is based on interviews with 50 people who came close to death through accident, illness, or injury, as well as some who were judged or pronounced clinically dead and were resuscitated. Nowhere in the book, however, does Moody state exactly how many of his subjects were pronounced dead or how many had a spiritualist orientation. Moody says merely he himself has never been interested in spiritualism, and many of his subjects were doctors, nurses, and from which presumably we are to infer that they are totally objective about their experiences. In a recent lecture at Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center, Moody said 15 elements crop up again and again in the experience of his subjects. There was an alarming auditory sensation, like a swarm of bees, that is referred to as the moment of death. Many people said they heard the doctor pronounce them dead. Then there was a feeling of being drawn down a tunnel, valley, or sewer. Then the sensation of looking at their body from outside of it, of floating on the ceiling. They feel they can't get through to the doctors and nurses. They often find someone who has died before them is there to meet them. They have flashes of their life or panoramic review of it in 3D, all at once, not sequentially. And then they see a being of light, a loving, warm, accepting being. Most of them call him he or Christ or the Supreme Being or an angel. It's fascinating as near-death experience, says Boston psychiatrist Richard Blatcher. The trouble lies in the subtle extrapolation that these are experiences that are occurred after dying. Death is not the same as dying. Flying to San Francisco is not the same as San Francisco. Okay, that makes sense. Alright, so just because a patient heard the doctor say she was dead doesn't mean she was dead. Maybe it's a lousy diagnosis. Even Moody admits, I certainly don't think a logical conclusion can be drawn that these are life after death experiences, thereby contradicting his own book title and book jacket. So why did Moody, a man that Bantam PR person says has this integrity thing, call his book Life After Life? I didn't pick the title, Moody told me, but I especially like it because it doesn't say life after death. And why does Bantam paperback bear the subhead actual case histories that reveal there's life after death? It's hard to trust the copy on the covers of books, said Moody. Then he adds, just as it's impossible to infer there's survival after bodily death, there's no way to assume that there is not. The clinical death cases in his book refer to people whose heartbeat and respiration stopped, who had no blood pressure, and whom the physician had considered dead. Cardiac or even respiratory standstill does not, however, automatically mean the onset of clinical death. It says in the 1976 Encyclopedia Britannica section on death, authored by Elisabeth Kubler-Ross. The pronouncement of death is much more problematical and controversial than most people realize, says medical ethicist Dr. Robert Viach. When a person says, I died for 3 minutes and had this experience, the person was not dead. He or she transiently ceased respiration and heartbeat, but not all brain function. Key brain function had to be there or the person couldn't come back. Even Moody concedes that the return to life of these people was no physiological miracle. Something was going on in those bodies in order to get them to be resuscitated. But what accounts for the out-of-body visions, then, of these near-death experiences? As Moody admits in Life After Life, they might be attributed to drugs, isolation, or cerebral anoxia. When oxygen levels are tampered with, you get all sorts of subjective visions and dissociative effects, like OBEs. But please don't call it hallucination, as if comparing these patients to psychotics. Many of these people, say Moody, and then that part's is blanked out, claims that their experience was a hallucination or a religious experience. We need to reassure patients that they're not crazy, but apparently no one ever needs to reassure them again about dying. People who survive this experience no longer are afraid to die, says Moody. Must you almost die to conquer your fear of dying? According to parapsychologist John Palmer, in a paper entitled Consciousness Localized in Space Outside the Body, published in Osteopath Physician, April 1974. He says, many persons who have striking OBEs report that the experience convinced them of survival after death and eliminated their fear of death. Whether or not the conclusion is objectively valid, it does suggest therapeutic possibilities for the OBE. May help persons engaged in high-risk occupations where fear may adversely affect their performance. It might also comfort patients in certain stages of terminal illnesses. All right, I think we are getting, we're like down to the wire here. I'm going to see if I can wrap this up. This is a very long article. Maybe we will come back to it next week. So, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's very strange indeed that this is a declassified document from the CIA. That they're so interested in this stuff that it's in their magazine. It seems to me like they're fascinated with what happens to the body after we die, out-of-body experience, otherwise known as astral travel. And they're trying to find out the applications of it as far as the, ability to spy on our fellow countries is concerned, so there's different applications, like to know if we survive the body after death, then maybe they wanted to engage in communication with the dead, maybe, possibly. It's very interesting. I think I'll try to read the rest of the article next week so that next Tuesday we'll maybe make CIA papers reveals the declassified document reveals. Maybe we'll make that the next few Tuesdays. I don't know about you, but I find it fascinating that they are fascinated about this. Kind of makes it like, the government agents are no different than us, spiritual folks. Just very curious about this. So, out-of-body experience, near-death experience, astral projection. I guess it's technically all the same thing, isn't it? Leaving your body is leaving your body, regardless of the circumstance in which you left your body. Whether it was on purpose to spy on Russia, or to locate a target, or just to see heaven or deceased loved ones. It's very interesting indeed. Anyway, well, I hope you've enjoyed the reading of this. It's very interesting for me. I hope that you liked it as well, and that the article was interesting. Brought up a lot of cool stuff I've touched upon in the past year and a half. So, all right, there you have it. I'll be back tomorrow with all unique and original programming, just like always. I wanted to say thank you for my listeners and listener supporters. And, well, just thank you for listening in general. I love you guys very much. I wanted to thank you like I do every day, because I can't do it without you. So, there you have it. Don't know what the show's going to be tomorrow. It's a surprise to me as much as to you. But I'll be back tomorrow. Heaven willing and the creeks don't rise. Literally, because my backyard is a creek. Anyway, that's it. I'm signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy fifth dimension. Until next time, guys. Peace. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined To support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.